want to talk about what happened outside the Old Bailey on Friday. Once the verdict was announced, quite understandably, the level of tension and anger rose among our people. Remember, we'd been outside the Old Bailey for 2 days. Men, women and children. Great atmosphere, party atmosphere. Yes, some hard-hitting speeches, but everything was good-natured. People were chatting to the police. There was no anger, there was no aggression. Everybody was in a good mood, because back then we did actually think that, well, maybe the Attorney General is obviously involved in political policing and trying to turn Tommy into a political prisoner. Theresa May, we know that her government have a complete hatred of Tommy and a visceral fear of, they have Tommy phobia. That should be a new phrase going into the dictionary. That they accuse us of Islamophobia, but they have Tommy phobia. They're terrified of it. We get that, but we actually thought that maybe a judge might actually look at the evidence and realise how ridiculous this whole case was and throw it out of court. And of course, Friday evening, we found that didn't happen, and straight away the media were saying Tommy Robinson's going to go back to prison. Tommy Robinson found guilty on all charges. So the crowd became very, very angry, understandably angry, and they surged towards the Old Bailey. And there was a line of police officers, and there was a barrier there, a metal barrier, which the reality is nobody seriously tried to get over or break through the lines. But people were angry, and they were venting their anger. A couple of people got a little bit boisterous. There were a few plastic bottles thrown. Nobody was hurt. None of the police officers were hurt. It was not a dangerously violent situation. And I've been in violent situations when I was in the military and on other occasions. And I know when people are trying to do serious harm to people. There was nobody in that crowd was trying to do serious harm or seriously trying to storm the Old Bailey. It just wasn't happening. Once the crowd started getting boisterous, the police officers immediately drew their batons. Then they started beating on the fencing, and there was a bit of aggression from both sides, no doubt about that. But one or two of the police officers went way beyond what the other riot cops were doing. They got very, very aggressive, and I mean to the point of view, this was not a dangerous situation. This was really not a dangerous situation. And I saw a police officer that was so pumped up on adrenaline. He actually looked like he was on drugs. He looked like he'd been, taking, mainlining steroids or something. His eyes were bulging. He had to be pulled back on 2 occasions by, I guess, his senior commanders, and was really swinging his baton wildly at people. What calmed that situation down was not the police officers, and it's their job to calm things down. It's not their job to beat up unarmed men, women and children with batons. It's their job to calm things down. Some of them, of course, were doing that. The police liaisons are always excellent. They always do a good job. But there were people in that riot squad that were itching for a fight. And I don't want that to happen. And it's not because I'm concerned about these testosterone-filled riot cops who want to beat people with batons. I'm not bothered about them, because to me they shouldn't even be in the job anyway. The guy that I saw with bulging eyes, to me he should not be on a riot squad. Far too aggressive, especially for the crowd that he was facing. He was facing pensioners, veterans, and yes, a few people that had a few drinks. But that was not a crowd of thugs that were seriously making an attempt to attack the police. And what diffused that was the excellent work of the stewards. The leadership of the stewards, absolutely fantastic, just went in there straight away. And then myself and Kev and Danny, when we saw what was happening, we put ourselves between the police officers and our people. And the reason we do that is not to protect the police officers. They're well able to protect themselves. When I do that, I want to stop our people putting themselves in a situation where they can get clubbed by the police officers, where they can get arrested for violent disorder, and where they could potentially get 2 to 3 years in prison. I don't want to see our people, because that's what the establishment want. The establishment want 2 things. First of all, they want to be able to prosecute our people. They want to be able to take them off the streets and put them in prison. But also, they want the footage of Tommy Robinson supporters attack police. They want that footage. And from our point of view, from a PR point of view, and fighting the long battle and fighting the propaganda war, we don't want to give them that footage. So I don't want our people getting arrested, and I don't want the propaganda victory being given to the mainstream media and to the establishment so they can say, look at the way these people behaved outside the Old Bailey. We can never let it happen again. And most importantly, I don't want our people getting arrested, charged with violent disorder and put in prison in these Muslim-run prisons where if it was found out what they were in prison for, they could well be murdered or certainly seriously assaulted by these fanatics that seem to be running those prisons. So what am I trying to say here? Well, I'm saying two things. First of all, the vast majority of the police that were there were fine. There was no problem with this, but especially the police liaison. They do their job well. We know what they're at. I mean, the police liaison are there to basically gather intelligence on us, to talk about what we're doing to their superior officers, and obviously befriend us. We get that, right? We know the way it works. We're not stupid, and we need to have contact with the police because we need to make sure that these things are peaceful, and also that our crowd are protected from the lunatic, suicidal jihadists that may well want to do us harm. But I want to know why we were under such close surveillance. Why were there so many riot policemen there when it was a small crowd, when they were mainly made up of retired people, pensioners, women, and there were children there? Why was the aggression so great from the riot police? Why is it down to us to stop people on our side being provoked by the police? I mean, what diffused it was when we said, turn your backs on the police, turn away from them. That's what diffused the situation. And of course, that situation should never have arisen in terms of the police being very, very aggressive towards our people. The other thing I would like to ask is, why were officers from the anti-terrorist branch there, not apparently protecting us, but in uniform and watching us? And were they listening to conversations? What were they doing there? Why were the anti-terrorist police there? And what are they investigating within our movement? Because I know that our movement is a peaceful movement and a democratic movement. So why are anti-terrorist squad police officers there? What are they doing there? And the reason that we know they're there is because we've got people within our movement who know who these people are, and they pointed them out to me. So that's another question. So I think our side can be commended for a peaceful resolution and for making sure nothing went wrong. And the police, well, I think the police do have questions to answer, but specifically about the really crazed looking riot cops that seem to be wanting a fight and wanting a riot. And our takeaway from that is that we can defuse these situations ourselves, and it's the right thing to do, because I don't want to see our people getting locked up in these Muslim-run prisons and possibly dying for the stand that they're taking unnecessarily. See you all soon.